The cry in the fog outside Base Station 12, wasn't just thick, it moved. Evan Blake stared through the reinforced observation window, breath held tight in his throat. Out there, somewhere beyond the electric perimeter fence, something had screamed, not mechanical, not environmental. It sounded like a child, no, not quite. Something close, but twisted, as if the cry had come from a throat not built for human speech. He stepped closer, squinting, confirming no visual contact. The station's AI, Athena, reported, external sound classified as unknown biological. Suggest protocol, remain inside. But Evan's boots were already on. Something about that sound dug under his skin like a splinter. The others were out on a survey run. He was alone for another 4 hours. Just him and Athena. I'm going out, he said quietly. Evan, please confirm. That is a violation of safety directive for an override. Emergency response. You logged the cry, didn't you? Athena paused, calculating. Logged it? 17 hours 3 minutes and 27 seconds UTC. Failing to respond would constitute negligence if proven sentient. Evan zipped up his suit, pulled on the breathing mask, and keyed the airlock. Exactly, the chamber hissed and cycled. The outer door creaked open. Cold, damp, stinking fog rolled in. Outside, visibility dropped to just a few meters. The perimeter, lights cast halos in the mist, their soft pulses barely cutting the gloom. Evan moved slowly, boots crunching on the frost-coated soil. Every sound was muffled, swallowed by the thick air. Then he heard it again, a whimper, close. He froze, then followed it, past the solar arrays, past the broken beacon tower that had never worked right since landing, and there collapsed at the base of a comms pylon was a figure, small, curled up, not human. Evan's breath hitched. The creature was humanoid barely. Slender limbs, smooth violet-gray skin, covered in cuts and patches of black, charred material. It looked like it had been shocked or burned. Long, clawed fingers trembled as it tried to pull itself further into the pylon's shadow, and its eyes, large, glassy, luminescent teal, locked on his dot. It let out a strangled noise, trying to drag itself backward, but its leg bent the wrong way. Something had been broken. I'm not gonna hurt you, Evan whispered, raising both hands slowly. Hey, I heard you. I'm here to help. It flinched at his voice. Its mouth opened, showing small, pointed teeth. But it didn't snarl, it whimpered. A sound full of fear and exhaustion. Then Evan saw the wires, thick, metal-braided cables, were wrapped tight around its torso, not naturally. Someone had tied them, cut into the flesh. A glowing, cracked implant blinked weakly on its collarbone. It wasn't just injured, it had been left here, tortured, abandoned. Dear God, Evan breathed. Who did this to you? Suddenly, behind him, the fog moved. No, not wind, something big shifted. Heavy steps. Slow, wet. Evan turned, heart racing. Shapes loomed, 3 of them, quadrupedal, bipedal. He couldn't tell. Only the glowing slits of their eyes burned through the mist. SHT. He looked down at the alien girl. She was trying to crawl, weakly, her gaze flicking between him and the monsters in the mist. Tears clear, luminous slid down her face. She's not the threat, Evan realized. She's prey. A deep low growl rippled through the fog. Closer now. Evan dropped to one knee and scooped the alien into his arms. She was featherlight. She didn't fight him. Her body went rigid as if bracing for more pain. I've got you, he said, barely above a breath. He turned and ran. Behind him. The growl sharpened into a screeching, unnatural, reverberating sound that echoed across the barren rocks. One of the fog creatures gave chase. The pounding footfalls thundered behind him. Fast and angry. Athena's voice buzzed in his comms. Biological mass detected 8 meters, and closing. Open the airlock. Evan barked. Confirmed. Cycling. Evan sprinted the last 30 meters, nearly tripping on loose ground. The girl whimpered in his arms but didn't move. The fog creature shrieked again, closer, closer. The edge of a shadow appeared behind him. The outer doors hissed open. He dove in, just as a clawed limb slashed through the mist and crashed against the steel frame of the door. Metal dented. Evan slammed the emergency close button with his elbow. The doors clanged shut, sealing them inside. Silence. He collapsed onto the floor, gasping, still clutching the trembling alien. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. The girl buried her face in his shoulder, shivering. Athena, he choked. Lock down. Full lockdown. Don't open the doors unless I say. Lockdown engaged. Yvonne, what was that? I don't know, he said. But it wasn't here for me. The alien girl lay unconscious on the medical table, limbs twitching slightly under the scanner's light. Evan hovered nearby, hands shaking slightly as he peeled off his suit and stared. Athena's voice came through the speakers. Vitals are unstable. She has multiple internal fractures, plasma burns, and evidence of deliberate restraint. Human-like, metallic bindings. She wasn't in a crash, Evan muttered. She was dumped, abandoned. Do you believe she is hostile? He looked at her again. Even now, unconscious, her brow furrowed with pain, her hands clenched into tiny fists. She looked small. No, he said. I think she's terrified. Athena paused. And the other creatures, I don't know what they were, but they were hunting her. There was a beep. A signal spike just hit the outer sensors, something circling the station perimeter. Evan turned toward the main display. On the exterior camera feed, only mist showed. No movement, but the motion sensor kept blinking, constant. She didn't crash, he repeated. She was dropped off like bait. Then, without warning, the girl bolted upright. The table's medical harness cracked as she screamed a high, piercing noise that made the lights flicker. Evan rushed forward. Hey, it's okay. You're safe. But her eyes locked on him and she lunged. He barely dodged her clawed swing. She landed on the floor, stumbled, and hissed, her thin chest heaving. She pointed at the medical scanner and shrieked. In a garbled, static-like alien language, her voice echoed unnaturally through the room. She thought it was a weapon. No. Evan stepped back, hands raised. It's not gonna hurt you. It's helping you. She didn't understand. She backed into the corner, curled in on herself, shivering. Then her voice changed, softer, still in her language, but no longer aggressive. She looked at him with wide eyes, almost pleading. She pointed to the scanner, then to herself, then shook her head vigorously. Bad, he guessed it. Hurt you before. She nodded. Slowly. Evan exhaled. Then we won't use it. Okay, no more machines, just rest. He pulled a blanket from the supply drawer and gently offered it. She hesitated, then reached out with shaking fingers and took it. Her claws brushed his hand. She flinched but didn't pull away. He sat down slowly, putting space between them. She pulled the blanket around herself like a shield, never taking her eyes off him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she said one word, quietly, hesitantly, even. His heart stopped. That's me. She pointed to herself. Ashira, he repeated. Her eyes shimmered again, not in fear, but in something else. Gratitude. Then Athena's voice returned, tight and cold. Evan, you need to see this. He stood and turned to the display. The fog outside had shifted. Again, something was standing at the perimeter fence. Something tall. Watching it wasn't moving, just staring. Then the lights flickered across the whole dome, and the perimeter camera feed went black. She wasn't supposed to survive. The lights buzzed overhead, flickering in a nervous rhythm. Outside the dome, the fog had turned still again, but it wasn't comforting. It felt like the kind of quiet before something terrible decided to strike. Inside, Evan stared at the blacked-out camera feeds. Still no visuals, he asked, already knowing the answer. Athena responded in her usual even tone, but there was something subtly different in her voice, now strained, almost cautious. Negative. 4 of 6 external sensors are unresponsive. Perimeter motion detectors continue to detect presence. No identification available. Something is disabling systems one by one. Are they breaching? No breach yet, but they're surrounding us. Pattern suggests intelligence. Evan rubbed a hand over his face and looked back at the girl Ashara, who now sat quietly on the floor, wrapped in a thermal blanket like a frightened animal. Her breathing was shallow, but her eyes were wide open, alert, tracking every sound and movement. He knelt beside her again. Do you know what's out there? He asked softly. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached into the folds of the blanket and pulled out something smaller, cracked, scorched shard of metal. It looked like part of her implant. She held it up, tapping it lightly twice with her claw. Tracker, she said. Evan frowned. Tracker. She nodded slowly, then looked at the ceiling and mimicked a burst of energy with her hand, then pointed to the shard again. Signal, call them. Evan's stomach sank. You're saying they're here because of that? You were calling them. She shook her head sharply. Not me. Them. Make me. ... Lost. Drop. You were dumped, he said, the pieces clicking together, and they left a tracker on you. Like bait. Her expression darkened, as if even that word was too kind. Evan stood up and turned to Athena. Scan the station again. Look for any other foreign devices, hidden signals, embedded frequencies. Already doing so, she replied. I am detecting residual alien code embedded in the medical systems, likely accessed during the last diagnostic scan. She thought the scanner was hurting her, Evan said. Maybe it really was. Not physically maybe that thing's transmitting more than diagnostics. Ashera suddenly stood up, shakily, and touched Evan's sleeve. She looked at him, voice trembling. Others, ... not come help. Come finish. Evan froze. You mean they're not rescuers? She slowly shook her head. Then she said, in broken English, the most chilling sentence he'd ever heard, are not supposed live. They moved Ashera into the communications bay, one of the few areas not directly linked to external systems, and began a deep scan of her implant fragment. Evan watched the data stream on the screen. The signal frequency was unlike anything human, pulsing in bursts rhythmic, like a heartbeat or a countdown. Athena, he asked, can you isolate this signal? Attempting. This is a hybrid code, part biological, part synthetic. Alien tech merged with organic components, very advanced, possibly sentient. Can we block it? Temporarily, yes, but the source device is damaged and unstable. Removal will require manual deactivation, risk of pain or neurological damage. To the subject, Evan looked at Ashera. She sat on the floor, silent, watching them both. Somehow, she seemed to understand what was happening, and she looked ... resigned. She knows, he murmured. She's had this done before. He crouched down. I can try to remove it, but it'll hurt. Do you want me to? Ashera looked at him carefully, then gave the smallest nod. The lights in the bay were dimmed. Evan, using the most delicate tools he had, worked over the glowing shard lodged near her collarbone. Ashera gritted, her teeth, small tremors racking her body. She didn't scream, didn't even cry out. Evan's hands were shaking. You're braver than I'll ever be, he muttered. She managed a weak smile, then whispered, brave, ... not mean, not scared. Evan paused, then nodded. Yeah, you're right. After 10 long minutes, the implant came free with a soft click. The light on the shard died immediately. Athena confirmed. Tracker signal disabled. Perimeter movement has paused. Hostiles may be confused. Ashera collapsed backward, panting, but her face relaxed for the first time. Evan wrapped the wound and helped her sit up. You did it, he said. You're free. But Ashera didn't smile this time. She looked past him, toward the control panels. Not free. Still danger. How so? She pointed to the cables running into the wall. They come still. Not for me now. For ... him. Him. Who's him? She stood slowly, walked unsteadily to the wall, and touched one of the conduits. Big voice talk-through machine. Hurt me, watch. Evan blinked. You mean, someone used the station to do this to you? She nodded, then added, human voice. Evan's blood turned cold. He dove into the station's archived logs. Command, transmissions, internal reports, audio logs, anything he could find. At first, nothing. But then, a buried file, encrypted, not logged in any official communication history, labeled only with a timestamp 17 days ago. He played it. A male voice came through. Precise. Clinical. Subject designated E1127 has failed projected developmental criteria. Emotional instability persists. Genetic memory sequences incomplete. Proceed to disposal protocol. Test environmental responses at proximity location. Evan felt the breath leave his body. Ashera heard it too. She stared at the screen, lips parted slightly. That voice, who is this? Evan asked Athena. The AI was silent for several seconds. Then, voiceprint matches station supervisor Harold Miles, presumed dead during the first fog storm 3 weeks ago. But this file is dated after his disappearance, which means either he's alive or someone else is using his identity. Evan looked at Ashera, heart pounding. They didn't just abandon you, they tested you. She nodded. Make me ... scared, alone, cry, see what I do, like a lab rat. She didn't understand the term, but she understood the meaning. They watched through this station, Evan muttered. They used it to study you, and they might still be watching now. Suddenly, the lights cut out completely. Backup power clicked in, but only at 30%. Systems slowed, screens dimmed, and the hallway doors hissed open on their own. Athena's voice returned, but distorted, crackling. Evan, not safe. Inside. What's happening? Internal breach. Source, unknown. But something is. Inside now. Evan turned to Ashira. Stay behind me. They stepped into the corridor. The lights flickered again. A figure stood at the far end. Human silhouette. Face obscured by a rebreather mask. But it was moving with unnatural stiffness. Like a puppet. It stepped forward. Spoke with a static-laced voice. Return the subject. Who are you? Evan shouted. The voice ignored him. Return the subject. Final warning. Ashira clung to Evan's arm, whispering, not alive. Evan raised his voice. You can't have her. She's free. You failed. The figure twitched then, lunged forward with terrifying speed. Evan yanked Ashira into a side lab and slammed the door. Athena, lock down this section now. Unable to comply. Security system compromised. Manual override required. A loud, metallic banging started against the door. Then silence. Evan and Ashira pressed against the far wall, barely breathing. A moment passed. Then Athena spoke again, this time. Clear, Evan. I found something. What is it? There's a hidden level beneath this station, not listed in any base schematics. Coded entry. Administrator. Override biosection 7. Evan stared at the ceiling. Biosection. What the hell is under us? Unknown, but power is still flowing to that section. Ashira looked at him, a flicker of hope in her exhausted eyes. He nodded. Then that's where we go. They're coming back for Hertha. Emergency ladder descended with a heavy clang, echoing into the black void below. Evan stared into the shaft that had just opened beneath the storage room floor. No official schematic showed this sub-level. No mission briefing mentioned anything hidden underground, but it was real, and it was powered. Ashira stood close behind him, eyes locked on the darkness. The dim red glow from the station's emergency lighting cast shadows across her pale face. She didn't speak, but her body trembled. Athena, Evan whispered, what's below us? I don't know, the AI replied. This area is locked behind quantum encryption. Whatever's down there, it was never meant to be accessed without top-tier authorization. Evan sighed. We're past that. He climbed onto the ladder. Stay close, he said to Ashira. Whatever's waiting, we face it together. The descent was longer than expected, 3 stories straight down. As they reached the bottom, a motion sensor triggered. Soft white light blinked on overhead, revealing a narrow hallway made of reinforced alloy. No markings, just silence and stale, recycled air. This place feels wrong, Evan muttered. Ashira stayed behind him, her breathing shallow. Her hand brushed the wall lightly, then pulled back like it burned. She whispered something in her language. Evan didn't know the words, but the fear in her tone was clear. They reached a sealed door at the end. A biometric scanner was built into the panel. Evan held out his hand, expecting rejection. Instead, the panel blinked. Green dot, access granted. The door slid open. Inside, lights flickered on row by row, revealing glass tubes, dozens of them, each one filled with a strange viscous fluid, and something floating inside. Evan stepped forward, heart thundering. The creatures weren't like Ashira, or, not entirely. Some looked similar, others deformed, half-grown, missing limbs, empty eyes. Some tubes were shattered empty. Voice came through his cums. I'm scanning now. These aren't clones. These are failed constructs. Constructs, Evan echoed. Bioengineered beings. Blends of alien and human DNA. Memory-coded tissue. Experimental. Evan looked around, disgusted. This was a lab. Ashira walked past him, eyes fixed on one of the intact tubes. She stopped in front of it, frozen. Inside floated a being almost identical to her. Same skin, same face, but its eyes were open, staring, and lifeless. No, Ashira whispered. Sister Evan blinked. That's your, not born maid. Like me. She placed a hand on the glass. Her voice cracked. She not survive. Tess, they said. I better, I live. Evan felt sick. They manufactured you, and discarded the rest. She turned toward him. They said I carry something code. Key. A key to what? Ashira shook her head. They don't say. Just test, push, hurt, see if I awaken. Evan swallowed hard. And if you don't, she answered in a whisper, they throw away. A sudden clang echoed from behind. Evan spun. The hallway lights flickered again. Something had entered the shaft above them. He looked at Ashira. She was shaking again this time, not in fear, but something else. Anger. Her eyes glowed faintly. They come, she said. To finish Athena, Evan barked. Can you lock the shaft? I can try. But if they override the station again, you'll be trapped. We're already trapped. He turned to Ashira. What do they want? Just to erase you. She hesitated. They want what inside me? Evan frowned. You mean data? Tech. She pointed to her chest. Memory, not mine, from long ago, buried deep. Athena chimed in again. Evan, I've analyzed Ashira's DNA. There's something inside her cells, nanos, dormant but ancient, far older than any known civilization. Alien and pre-human. Evan's mind reeled. You're saying she's carrying what? Alien history. Athena's voice dropped. She may be a living archive, or a fake. Ashira stepped back from the glass tube. They fear what I know. Even I not know all, but I feel it waking. Another slam. Louder this time. Then the air vents began to hum. Softly, then louder. A gas hissed into the room. Evan, Athena, cried, they're releasing something. Air is being laced with nanosuppressants, designed to shut down hybrid physiology. Ashira gasped, falling to her knees. Her body convulsed. Evan ran to her. We have to get out of here. No exit, she whispered. They close all. Only one way. She looked toward the back of the lab. A sealed vault stood there, unmarked. She struggled to her feet and pointed. It's calling me. The ground shook. The wall at the other end of the lab began to open. A metal door folding upward. From the darkness beyond, something moved. Another humanoid form. Taller, broad-shouldered, but its skin was warped metal fused to flesh. Eyes glowing red, mouth stitched shut. It stepped into the lab with jerking, mechanical movements. Evan pulled Ashira behind him. Athena's voice was tight with alarm. This isn't just a hybrid. It's a control unit, designed to eliminate unstable subjects. The creature's head tilted toward them. It raised one hand. Evan saw a weapon embedded into its arm. Energy began to pulse in the barrel. Run, he shouted. They bolted toward the vault. The vault responded to Ashira's presence. Lights flared to life. The door slid open. Pod sleek, organic-looking, like it didn't belong to the rest of the station. It glowed faintly. Ashira reached for it instinctively. What is that? Evan asked. She looked back. Escape. No memory. She stepped inside. The moment her feet touched the floor, the pod came alive. Holographic lines spiraled around her. Her body lifted slightly. Eyes rolled back. The air filled with a low, resonant hum. Athena gasped. Evan, I'm detecting massive energy discharge. Biolinks forming. Neural interfaces activating. Then Ashira screamed. Her voice echoed through the lab, shaking the walls. The monster froze mid-step, shuddered, and took a step backward. The lights burst. One by one, from Ashira's body, a soft aura began to spread, pulsing like a heartbeat. Symbols danced in the air. Alien characters. Evan couldn't understand then, but he could feel the weight of them. She's awakening, Athena whispered, but Ashira's body began to convulse inside the pod. She's not ready, Evan said. It's killing her. He grabbed her shoulders, trying to pull her out, but the pod's surface had fused with her skin. She was part of it now. Ashira's eyes snapped open, and she whispered, they are not coming for me. Evan frowned. What? She looked past him, toward the door. They come. For you. The control unit turned away from Ashira and charged at Evan. The human who lied to command. The control unit lunged. Evan barely dove aside as a burning arc of energy shot past his head, searing the metal wall behind him. The thing moved fast for its size and utterly silent despite its mechanical bulk. Its stitched mouth split open slightly, revealing rows of dark metal teeth. Athena's voice crackled through his gums. Evan, that unit is built for eradication, not capture. You can't fight it, you have to run. Working on it, Evan shouted, ducking behind a cryochamber as the creature's arm cannon charged again. Behind him, the strange pod containing Ashira began pulsing with intense light. Symbols spun faster around her. She floated, eyes white, body twitching. The air around her vibrated with a low hum that was now almost musical-like, a chorus of whispers too old to remember what they were saying. Evan rolled to the next chamber, then yanked a pressurized canister from a wall port and hurled it at the control unit. It struck the thing's shoulder and exploded in a burst of gas and flame. The creature staggered, its armor sizzling, then let out a grinding, guttural noise, half machine, half pain. Evan bolted toward the vault's access console. Athena, give me a way out. I can create a backdoor through the maintenance tunnels beneath the sublevel, but they're unstable and partially collapsed. It's a risk. We're already buried in risks. A deafening crack made Evan spin. The monster had smashed through a cryotube and now turned toward Ashura's pod, ignoring him. No, not ignoring. It was after her again. Evan sprinted and jumped, landing hard on the thing's back, yanking at a bundle of exposed neural wires. The unit spasmed violently, jerking him off and slamming him into the wall. Pain shot through his ribs, but he forced himself up again. Come on, you want me? I'm right here. The creature turned toward him just as the pod behind it exploded in a burst of blinding white light. A sound, not quite a scream, not quite a roar, ripped through the vault. The monster froze. Ashura floated above the pod now, suspended in a cocoon of shimmering energy. Her eyes blazed blue-white. The alien symbols etched into the air solidified and began rotating around her like a halo. She raised a hand on the control. Unit stopped moving. Evan stared. The thing wasn't just frozen, it was being deconstructed. Its limbs unraveled like threads, its armor crumbling into grains of dust that floated toward Ashura, absorbed into the storm of light around her. Its red eyes dimmed. Its last movement was not of rage, but of relief. Then it vanished. Ashura gently lowered to the ground. The energy halo dimmed, but a soft glow still clung to her skin. Evan staggered toward her. What just happened? Her voice was calm, but layered like something else spoke with her. I remembered what I was made to forget. Back in the lab above, the fog had thinned but not left. The watchers outside hadn't moved. Still shapes, still glowing eyes. Evan and Ashura climbed the ladder back into the upper levels. The damage was worse. Now hallways flickered with intermittent power. Wall panels hung loose. A low hum came from deep within the station, like something ancient was slowly waking up. Athena's voice returned, steady but strained. I've regained partial control of the systems. I don't know how, but her presence has restabilized the corrupted code. Evan turned to Ashura. You're fixing Athena. She nodded. She is alive. Machine, yes, but aware. They made her forget too. Evan blinked. You mean, the AI was tampered with? They control everything that remembers. Evan looked at her, his voice low. Ashura, who are they? She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, not just my people. Yours too. They reached the command deck, where Evan accessed the main transmission logs. If there was any truth to this, any proof, he needed to find it. Ashura hovered near the central display, fingers brushing against the holographic interface like she instinctively knew how it worked. Evan pulled up classified logs, bypassing security. His clearance wouldn't normally allow it, but something. Possibly Ashura had unlocked a back door. Athena confirmed it. Administrative access granted. Command override recognized as Omega class. Omega, Evan whispered. That's not possible. I'm civilian crew. Ashura tilted her head. You were sent. Not random. Evan scrolled through. Encrypted transmissions. Most were data exchanges, system updates, weather reports. But then something caught his eye. Operation Eclipse Phase 4. Subject integration. Hybrid response. Control objective. Evaluate emotional conditioning and emergent memory recovery in prototype E1127. Human observer embedded with false mission parameters. Contingency protocol. Asset termination upon contact confirmation. Evan's blood ran cold. He clicked another file. Audio log. Supervisor Miles. The human doesn't know he's part of the test. That's essential. He must believe his responses are genuine. We need to see if subject E1127 responds to emotional bonding. If it triggers recall, once the reaction begins, we'll extract her, terminate him if necessary. Evan stepped back. They used me, he whispered. I wasn't just sent here to fix communications. They sent me to trigger you. Ashura's eyes didn't judge, but they were heavy with understanding. I know, but you didn't know. That's why it worked. Evan turned away, fists clenched. They were going to kill us both. They still might. A proximity alert buzzed. The watchers outside the dome were moving again, only now. They weren't hiding. They were approaching the airlocks. Athena's voice came through. Evan, they're not alone. Another vessel is descending. Unauthorized drop pod. No registry match. On the screen, a sleek black craft dropped through the atmosphere like a dagger. It bore no flags, no insignias. Then Athena added, grimly, transponder, code identified, Omega Retrieval Unit. They're coming to erase everything, Evan said. Wipe the station. Take her, or kill her. Ashira stepped forward. Then we go. Now, to where? She looked skyward. There is a place. In orbit. A station. Hidden. That's where the truth waits. Evan narrowed his eyes. How do you know that? She touched her temple. Because I remember now. Athena spoke again. I can initiate evacuation protocols. The rover and atmospheric lifter are functional, but you won't make it unless I stall them. Evan frowned. You're going to help us. I was built to serve those who ask questions, Athena said. And for the first time, I believe the right ones are being asked. They raced toward the hangar bay. The facility groaned as power surged back into the launch systems. The fog was retreating, perhaps driven away by Ashura's presence, or perhaps by the arrival of something worse. As they reached the loading ramp, the ground shook with the impact of the enemy drop pod. Figures in black armor emerged, faceless, precise, moving like predators. Evan strapped into the lifter's pilot seat. We're not going to make it unless someone slows them down. Athena, he said, what's the best you can do? I can overcharge the dome's core and reroute it to the fog perimeter. It will disrupt all sensors and targeting systems, but I'll lose integrity. You'll die. I was never meant to live, she said softly. But she is, and so are you. The station's core began to rumble as energy flooded the outer nodes. Goodbye, Evan, Athena said. Thank you, he whispered. The launch platform opened. Ashira reached out and grabbed his hand. The lifter blasted skyward below. The dome erupted in a pulse of light, disabling everything in a 5-kilometer radius. The retrieval team never saw them escape. The station, that shouldn't exist. The stars blinked into view as the atmospheric lifter broke free from the planet's surface. Below them, the station, that had once been Evan's poststand, Ashara's prison, shrunk into the swirling fog, now disturbed by the discharge Athena had triggered. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Evan gripped the controls tightly, jaw clenched. Athena gone. Ashira sat beside him, her luminous eyes fixed on the black beyond the glass. She chose to remember. That's freedom. Evan swallowed the knot in his throat. I hope it was worth it. She thinks it was. The silence returned. It wasn't empty. There was weight in it now. Purpose. Ashira pointed toward the nav screen, her fingers dancing over the display. There, she said. The hidden orbit. Station 0. Evan blinked. There's no such registry. There wouldn't be, she replied. They built it to be forgotten. Evan adjusted course. Then let's remind them it exists. The journey took just under 2 hours. As they approached the coordinates, space itself began to distort. Evan frowned. I'm seeing refraction anomalies, visual glitches. The station is cloaked, Ashera said, built between folds of gravitational interference. Earth can't see it from surface-level observation. As the lifter adjusted course and passed through the distortions, a shape began to skeletal and ancient-looking, more like a carcass than a station. Long corridors stretched like ribs from a central spine. Entire sections looked abandoned or collapsed, but parts of it still hummed faintly with power. Athena was the daughter, Ashera whispered. This is the mother. Evan blinked. What? This is where they made her, where they made me. They docked at an auxiliary bay, mostly dark, except for low-running emergency lights. The station interior smelled metallic, old like rust, and memory. Evan armed the short-range pistol he'd found in the lifter. Let's move slow. Ashira walked ahead of him without fear. She wasn't floating anymore, but she wasn't entirely grounded either, her steps almost soundless. They moved through vast corridors lined with pods, data conduits, and half-dead AI terminals. The walls here weren't like human design, closer to bone than metal. Grown, not built. This place isn't just a lab, Evan said. It's alive. Ashira nodded. It remembers. They passed a chamber where blackened husks floated. In stasis, a failed generation of hybrid beings. Some bore human traits, others didn't. One had Evan's face. He stopped. What is this? Attempts, Ashera said, to combine memory and will. Human strength with alien recall. But they always failed. Too much fear. Evan stared. Fear of what? She looked him in the eyes. Of waking up. Finally, they reached a central hall, the floor lit up beneath their steps. A voice echoed through the chamber. Calm, male, familiar. Welcome back. Jung Doisachi Evan spun. That's Miles. A holographic figure flickered into existence. Supervisor Harold Miles, in full Earth, Command Uniform.com. Smile. Steady hands, but the light in his eyes was artificial. This was no live feed. I wondered how long it would take. The voice said, truthfully, we didn't expect you to survive. The hologram turned to Evan, and you, the accidental hero. Bravo. You fulfilled your role better than expected. Evan's fists clenched. I wasn't part of your experiment. You were the most important part, Miles replied. We needed your choices, your care, your compassion. Her awakening required human contact, not observation, not commands. Love. Evan stepped forward. She's not a switch you can flip. She's more than that, Miles said, turning toward us. She's the last archive of a species older than ours, a species that chose to hide their knowledge, to keep it buried until a moment of true empathy awoke it again. Ashora's eyes narrowed. You stole that choice from them. We saved it, Miles said coldly. Do you know what's coming, girl? Do you think Earth's command built you for war? For fun? No, we built you for defense. Something is coming from deep space and we're not ready. Evan blinked. What? Miles continued. We've intercepted signals, old ones, pre-language, pre-light. Something is waking out there. We needed a memory keeper, a beacon, someone who could interface with tech lost to time. She was that. Ashera stepped forward. Then why torture me? Miles' face hardened. Because fear forces recall. Pain awakens code. Evan aimed his pistol at the hologram. You'll never control her. You already did, Miles replied. She's awake now, and soon she see why we did it. The hologram vanished. Then something behind the walls began to pulse. The station shook. Lights flared red. Emergency sirens buzzed. Ashera looked up. They activated the core. Athena said, you were a failsafe. Evan muttered. Maybe they're trying to activate whatever's been buried here. From beneath their feet, the floor panels began to open. Rising from the center of the chamber was a crystalline structure like a blooming flower made of light and metal. Evan shielded his eyes. What is it? Ashera stared in awe. Not weapon. Warning. The light intensified. Symbols poured from it, hundreds, then thousands projected in every direction. Images. Stars. Galaxies. And then a shape. Something enormous. Obscured by distance. Alien. Coiling like smoke. Larger than planets. Moving toward Earth. Evan's voice cracked. What? What is that? The remembered one, Ashera whispered. They sealed it long ago. My people buried the knowledge. But Earth Command found fragments, thought they could prepare. Evan looked at the display. It's still coming. Yes, Ashera said. And I'm the only one who remembers how to stop it. Evan turned to her. Then what do we do? She reached for the central crystal. We send a message. Not to them, to the others. The ones who tried to stop it before. You mean your creators? Yes, if any are left. Evan nodded. Let's do it. She stepped into the heart of the light. Symbols swirled around her body. Her skin glowed. Her voice spoke in thousands of tongues. The message surged through the station's long-dead relays, bouncing through subspace nodes, reaching out into the stars. And somewhere beyond the veil of known space something answered. A pulse returned. Ashera gasped and fell to her knees. Evan rushed to her. You, okay? She nodded, weakly. They heard me. They're coming. Friend or foe? I don't know. Suddenly, red lights flared again. Another ship was approaching the hidden station. Too fast for anything Earth built. A thin voice somehow, impossibly whispered through Evan's cums. Evan, she's not alone anymore. Who? The one that remembers. The other archive. Evan looked through the viewing panel. A second vessel, looked dark, smooth, like obsidian, alien, and it was docking. When memory meets destiny, the alien ship loomed silently outside the viewports, its hull, dark as obsidian, seamless and alive. It made no contact, no demands, no visible signs of hostility. And yet, Evan couldn't breathe. Ashera stood beside him, her skin still faintly glowing with the memory code pulsing under the surface. But for the first time since she awakened, she looked unsure. That ship, she said, voice low, isn't from Earth. It's one of ours. Yours? Evan asked. She shook her head. Not like me. Older. Original. I was made from what they left behind. They stood in silence as the alien vessel began to dock, its airlock aligning with the dead station's port like a key sliding into a long-forgotten lock. Then dash contact. The lights dimmed. The entire station let out a low groan, like something ancient had just stirred in its sleep. The airlock door unsealed with a hiss. From within the dark tunnel, a figure stepped forward. Humanoid, tall, cloaked in silken layers that shimmered in unnatural ways. Its face was hidden behind a smooth, featureless mask, but its presence was undeniable, commanding, timeless. Ashira stepped forward first. The figure stopped a few feet from her. Slowly, it removed its mask. Its face was hers, not similar, identical. Evan's breath caught. Is that my source? Ashira whispered. The original, the one they copied, the first memory. The being spoke not aloud, but directly into their minds. You have awakened what was buried. You called across time. Ashira nodded. The remembered one is returning. The being's expression remained serene, but heavy with sorrow. It never stopped. We only delayed it. Our kind gave up everything to place a lock upon that door. Now, humans have pried it open. Evan stepped forward. Then help us fix it. The being turned to him. You carry their mark, the touch of those who tamper, yet you chose compassion over command. You are an anomaly. Thanks, Evan muttered. That's kind of my thing. The being continued. You must understand. The remembered one does not invade with ships. It erodes memory. It unravels what makes a people who they are. It feeds on truth, on identity. And when nothing is left, it takes the form of what we fear most. Ashera looked at Evan. That's why they used fear to wake me. Yes, the being replied, but they did not understand the cost. Suddenly, the station shuddered, a second pulse, this time from deep space. Athena's voice, restored and resonant, came back online. Signal confirmed. The remembered one has reached the edge of the solar system. Estimated time to Earth contact, 3 hours. Evan gripped a railing. We can't fight that. No, the alien being said. But we can show Earth what they forgot. It walked to the crystalline console in the chamber's center. The same one Ashera had used to broadcast the first message. We will unlock the last seal. The true archive. The one that contains not just memory, but identity. Ashera's eyes widened. The root code. The being nodded. Every civilization has a beginning. We encoded ours in light, and buried it where only the worthy would awaken it. You are worthy now. The archive came to life. From the walls, holograms exploded outward, real, vast, and beautiful. Evan saw the rise of a kind, their cities grown, not built, their bonds not just social, but neural, a society connected through empathy, thought, memory. He saw their confrontation with the remembered one, a shadow not of body, but of forgetting, an entity that drifted into civilizations like fog, draining history, fracturing trust, leaving only war and silence behind. He saw the desperation, the choice to seal the archive, to divide memory across countless stars, and to embed one final copy into a synthetic child, a seed of memory. Ashera. She wasn't just a construct, she was a safeguard for the soul of a people. Tears slid down her face as the memories filled her. Joy, loss, sacrifice, generations lost to silence. She turned to Evan. Now I remember everything. Evan stepped closer. Then, what do we do? The alien being's voice filled the room again. We do what the remembered one fears most. We share the truth. It gestured to the console. Send it to Earth. All of it. Let them see. Let them feel. The creature feeds on disconnection, on isolation. When humanity remembers what it means to be human, it cannot feed. Evan looked at the stream. All of Earth. The whole network. Yes, Ashera said, moving to the controls. Broadcast the truth, before it's forgotten again. Athena confirmed. Relays online. Uplink connected. Earth command satellites accessed. Evan glanced at her. They'll come for us. They're already coming, she whispered. He took her hand. Then let's give them something worth chasing. The archive was released. Billions of people on Earth, in orbit, on colonies, were flooded with visions. Not just images, but feelings. The sorrow of Ashura's people, the pain of forgetting, the danger of control, and the beauty of shared memory. People stopped in their tracks. Families looked at each other like strangers, rediscovering a connection. Even Earth Command's elite froze. Their AI systems crashed under the emotional weight of the broadcast, and in space they remembered. One paused, its endless crawl slowed. For the first time in eons, it felt resistance, not from weapons, from remembrance. Evan collapsed to his knees. The energy had drained him, but he was smiling. Ashira knelt beside him. "Is it done?" he whispered. She nodded, tears in her glowing eyes. "For now, we've bought them time. Maybe enough." The alien being stepped forward. "The archive cannot be undone. What has been remembered will echo." Evan looked at both of them. "But what about us?" Ashira touched his cheek. "You gave me back my name," she said. "You gave me humanity. And you reminded me why it matters," he whispered back. The being smiled, then turned and walked back to its ship. "We go where we are needed," it said. "There are others who have forgotten. We must help them remember." The ship sealed and vanished into a shimmer of light. Evan and Ashira sat together in the fading light of the station, not as prisoner and rescuer, not as human and alien, but as two souls who refused to forget. The end. Final lesson. In a universe where power erases memory and fear replaces truth, the most powerful act is to remember. To remember who you are, to remember what you love, and to share that memory so the darkness can never take it. Because humanity isn't about being strong, or perfect, or right. It's about remembering each other, even when everything else is lost.